Morning, everybody. It is 8:20 a.m., August 14th. Markets yesterday looked like they were going to go down. However, the crusty market internal said we were not weak. I was live and I was telling a couple of people in the community that the whole time we were going down. Like, the market is not weak until something changes. Kept talking about that. The market is not weak. And what happened? Right? We ended up pushing up and making a higher close in the previous day. So the tech was really the issue yesterday. It was relatively weak, which pushed the QQQ relatively weaker than the SPY or the S&P 500, whatever you want to call it. That was really what was the weight. Once that weight was lifted a little bit, the market was able to push back up. So now we have PPI today at 8:30. We'll see that live. I don't know how much that will pull the markets because of the markets are pricing in a cut almost to 100% now. Um, Now, I know in history, when the Fed usually starts to cut, it actually, you might get initial bursts, but then it actually, the yield curve, I haven't looked at the yield curve in a little bit, but, once that what is it, uninverts, usually there's a downturn. So, we're still in August, okay? September's no seasonally bearish as well. So, maybe we get a blow off top soon. I don't know. I'm not calling for that. All right. Now, yesterday, my expected move indicator, I talked about it in the live stream. AMD already hit its expected move. Okay. Netflix hit its expected move yesterday. And what happened? It sold off. Okay. Coinbase hit its expected move and sold off. All right. Berkshire Hathaway hit its expected move. What else here? Did I see that it's coming close? We'll go over that in a little bit just to give you a quick overview of that. Again, that's on my Discord. You can add that to your charts. Okay, add it to your charts. Now, the SPX, okay, that has an expected range. All right. And the expected high is 65.04. 65.04. That's the expected move for tomorrow up to the upside, right? Now, expected doesn't mean that it expects to go there. That's just the range. That's the upper part of the range. Okay. And the SPY's expected range is 648.92. We're at 644. Okay. Like I said, we'll go over it in a little bit. That being said, why don't we just get right into it? Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets, long supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. All helps me find structure. Like I said, that's my edge. Okay. Use Anchor VWAPs. Market internals, my trusty indicator of the strength and the possibilities of the market. Okay. And my new baby. Multiple new babies. All right. The expected move and bookmap. And bookmap, boy, that is something, boy. I'm loving my bookmap. All right. Trying it out for this month. That's probably going to be for life now. So, most likely 99% is I'm probably going to buy that thing for life. Um, I've been seeing that thing for like almost 6.5, 7 years. And I don't know what took me so long, to be honest with you. But I'm glad I trying it out. So I did post on my Discord um, this morning about a trade that basically a market observation. I want to start tracking them more. All right. Now, before I talk about that, why don't we just talk about you subscribing? All right. Subscribe to my channel. Set an alert. I give golden nuggets every day. All right. Golden nuggets. Okay. Levels, TA, news, market movers, right? And then we go into, like I just said, technical analysis. And then I give you long and short trade scenarios. And then I give you extra bonuses. Like yesterday, we did the RRG charts. We saw that mining and the jets, the airlines, have been relatively the strongest, right, over this period. If you just thought it was semis and go to by the main sectors, well, hiding in the dark was jets, the ETF jets, which is airlines, right? But the number one was XME. That ETF is mining, right? We went over that yesterday. So there's where you can find, if you're going to swing trade or something. Oh wow, I didn't realize that was the moving. Those are also moving more than actually semis, right? And the number one semis was Micron. Okay, you might have thought it might have been AMD. It was not. AMD was actually the least. Now AMD did pull back, and people are buying those pullbacks in AMD. Boy, that FOMO's kicking in. All right. Now, like I was talking about, my Discord. All right, my Discord. That is Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, sign up, click on the link, join me live. All right, join me live, and you can just go here. I'm going to show you a couple things here. Okay, so during the day, right? So this is where is it? August 13th. I give updates, right? So I'm giving updates constantly with ticks, with my internals, with the sectors, see what sectors are leading, right? See, I said this market's been tricky. Ticks have been strong all day. It's all about tech and semis being weak. Nvidia did hit its previous day low. Apple is stronger off the open, watching for longs. All right, so I'm constantly commentating. Yesterday I was live as well. And the thing I just posted this morning. Now, to start off here, you can go to the weekly expected move, right? I added SPX. This is the weekly expected move for this week. Add it to your charts. Come join the Discord. Okay, add this to your charts. Trust me. Okay, trust me. Now, I might change this channel, I might copy it somewhere else, but I just call this my trade reflections. And I talked about a trade. I was so close to going long. So close to going long in the ES. I mean, Bookmap basically was telling me this is your shot. Okay? And if we go real quickly into my screenshots of this, I point out how tech was relatively weak. Market cap and equal weight were very distant, but look how strong the overall market was. Very strong. Tech was the only thing that was really weak. Okay? And there's Bookmap. And what I show here is you had an impulsive move up. You broke some structure here. You pulled back. And big buyer here. And notice the delta. The net delta had strong buyers in this area. We pulled right back to that area. And then, boom, got some aggressive. I would have got long right here. Stop loss at 66s. Right? I would have targeted 82s. And I show you that here in my trigger chart. Okay, that was the structure. Because we were holding down here. We came down here kind of almost like a double bottom in a 5-minute candles. That doesn't matter to me. I wanted to see us break this structure. We did. And then we pulled back. Right? This is the close, the previous day's close. This is the previous day's highs, the blue. I would have entered right there, stop loss there, 4-point risk, targeting a 12-point target. That's a 3-to-1, 300% return, a 3R return. That would have worked out pretty good. Okay, so I'm noting that because what I say here is basically in this diagram here. Usually twin tech's week, I don't really like to go, I don't really like longs at all. However, the overall market wasn't that weak. Okay, equal weight, you can see that line was never really weak all day. And that was really my, overall internals is what you really want to pay attention to, even though I don't like that outlier of tech being weak. So in this day, overall internals really were the key. Okay. So that's the stuff I do on my Discord. Like I said, I'll probably go live again today. Let me know if you'd be interested. Again, let me be your indicator. Okay, just let me be your indicator. All right, let's get into the watch list here. Futures. Let's see what's Bitcoin hit an all-time high. Yeah, Bitcoin hit an all-time high. All right, and interesting enough, I was looking at. I think I was on X or something. Interesting enough that MicroStrategy is down, and it's very odd, right? That stock moves lock and step usually with Bitcoin. Whoa, whoa. Oh, duh. That's the PPI. I'm sorry. Let's go to that. My bad. I was like, what the heck's going on? Let's go to the PPI. Let's see PPIs. I don't know. The market moved down real quick. Let's just go into it. Sorry, I apologize. I got lost in the sauce there. Let's go to our PPI here. Let's see. Let's see. We're going to go with headline PPI. Oh boy, that's not good. Oh boy, that is not good. Now, this could be tariffs. Okay, so headline PPI, we expected 2.5. We just got 3.3. I am going to guess that's tariffs. Okay, remember, the producers pay the tariffs. I know Trump sometimes makes it sound like we're going to make them pay. We're really going to make them pay. It's like, no, Americans pay. The importers pay the tariff. The producers pay the tariff. So that is, wow. Hey, your bed's made. All right, so that is serious, guys. Point 0.8 above the expectations. Now, the core. Look at that core. 2.9 expected. 3.7 actual. Wow. I'm curious now with that Fed Watch tool. I don't think it updates like that quick. What that's going to say. This is what scared the feds about the tariffs. Okay? This is the producers bear the cost of the tariffs. Now, just to understand it, I know a lot of people like to talk about tariffs and inflation. It doesn't actually cause inflation. Okay? Just so everybody understands that. A tariff is a tax that the importers pay, like us, the U.S. Every time we tariff another country, we pay the tariff. Okay? It's a tax that we pay our U.S. Okay? They collect the revenue from tariffs. Now, what happens is when the tariffs go in, it's a one-time price jolt. Like, so let's say in Walmart, you're going to buy, I don't know, let's say trying to think of something here. Something everybody uses. Toothpaste. Let's say it's toothpaste. And let's say we put a tariff on, let's just say we imported toothpaste from India or China, and there's a tariff on it, right? Well, whatever Trump does, let's say Walmart has to cover the cost now, raise the cost of toothpaste to cover their cost, to keep their margin the same, right? That happens once. And then that's it. It's not continuing to raise prices. That's where people think that, oh, it causes inflation. It doesn't cause systemic inflation like it's going to keep going higher. It's a one-time thing. But this is pretty bad. This is really bad. Okay? Now, this is like, I can think this is going to put a hurting into the cuts. Okay? Because this is their fear. Now, remember, what I'm saying is logical. What the Fed's saying about inflation and all that, that's what the market goes by. So I could be logical. It doesn't matter, right? These numbers, fake or whatever, those are the real things the market goes off of. The algos drive off the numbers, even if they're fake, even if they're messed up. Okay? We're getting a pretty large sell-off right now. Okay, let's go to the hourly charts. This is pretty big. This is pretty big. Okay, you can see both markets here. Big red bar. Big red bar. I mean, this is a huge miss. You're taking out all these longs. This is the level you got to hold here. I don't think it's going to. Okay. What a miss. Wow. Usually PPI doesn't really move the market as much as the CPI. This is a big, big, big miss. What a candle. Wow. That candle's enveloping a lot of buyers. And you have this one day that has kind of poor structure, and you're hitting this hard. You want to see book map? Let's see book map. Look at that selling. Woo! Boy, oh boy. Let's see the scene of that crime here. That's just ripping. That is some ripping selling here. Woo! Look at that sucker. Wow. Now you got some buyers coming in. Man, oh man. Something else, boy. Oh, I'm speechless right now. That is a big miss. All right. Now, we got our hourly chart. You see that big red bar. I'm going to let that digest. Okay. Market's got to digest this now. Now, let's just go right back to futures. Let's see what the dollar's doing. Let's see what the bond market thinks about this. Okay. VIX. Look at the VIX. 5% up to a 15.33 VIX. Crude's up 0.32. That's kind of the dollar. Interesting. It's a little flat. 30-year bonds are flat. Interesting. 10-year yield's flat. Gold's down. Dow's down 0.44. ES down 0.50. Nasdaq's down 0.57. Now the real one's going to be the losers. Russell. It's more rate sensitive. So 0.89 down silver. 1.58. See, Russell's getting smoked. Ethereum down 3.06. Interesting. Bitcoin's down 3.17 after hitting all-time highs. All right, now let's look at the Mag 7s. All right. Interesting. Amazon is flat, right? Let's see who's really getting hit hard. We're going to go to the, let's just go here. Meta down 0.86. All right. Tesla's down 1.16. Broadcom down 1.21. AMD down 2%. Coinbase down 2.33%. Okay. Top sectors. Let's see what's moving here. Home Depot. Home Depot is the laggard in this list. Home Depot. Okay. Let's look at granular. Let's see what's it's even possible to have an up here. I think that's Bosch Health, Crisp Therapeutics. Those are the only that everybody's pretty much down here. Let's see the laggards here. Tilray. That's that weed stock. I think this is John Deere, down 5.77. I think this is Wayfair. Whoa, that just moved. CoreWeave, blah, 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 whatever. All right, let's move on to sectors now. I don't know who's with me this morning. Say hi if you're here. Maybe it's Chief, maybe it's Documents, not sure. Ashma, I know, was here the other day. I know there was a Jorge in here. If there's nobody, that's fine. I do this without anybody in here. Honestly, I do this without anybody. So, Staples. Staples. Getting some love. Why? Because that's defensive, right? I mean, they're not up. They're just flat, right? Semis is the laggard. Risk off. Risk off. Okay? Semis is your laggard. I don't need to go into all the other ones. We know the market's just tipped down. Okay? Market's just tipped down. Now, we already went over here. All right? Now, we just got some big news. Now, what I want to look at now is, did the Fed Watch tool update this? I mean, I'm curious. It was at 99% the other day. This is September. Let's look at the probability, compare. Current, now 99.78, expecting a cut. I want to see, and maybe a little later in the day it will update. Okay, maybe a little more later in the day it would update. Breadth, we went up to 65% of the stocks in the S&P 500 are above their 20-day simple moving average, so the breadth has improved. That improved yesterday because the overall market was pretty good. Some stock news this morning. Cisco stock fell 1.5. The networking equipment group announced a stronger than expected first quarter. John Deere stock slumped 7.3 after the agricultural machine giant reported better than expected third quarter, but the shares fell 5% of the farm equipment manufacturer narrowed its full year profit guidance. Advanced auto parts stock fell 0.8. All right, blah, 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 blah. All right, let's look at some news here. WhatsApp accuses Moscow of trying to block secure communication. Okay, Google pledges $9 billion to expand AI. U.S. pharma tariffs likely weeks away as Trump plans for Alaska, sources say. Okay, that's going to affect your pharma stocks. Okay, Now, Eli Lilly's already got some smoke that might be priced in already. All right, let's see here. Kava's getting price target cut from 107 to 97. Cisco Tice raises target price 70 from 64. Okay, let's look at the juice. The juice is probably going to talk about this move that just happened. And I think I just saw about rate cuts. All right, what's going on here? Come on. I don't know what just happened. Okay. All right, 8:30. This is White House Press Secretary Levitt on Trump's meeting with Putin. Trump has plenty of tools to use if required. Equities fell and bond yields climbed after stronger than expected PPI reading made traders reduce the odds of a Fed cut. See that? That's what I was talking about. It's just not live, I don't think. Okay? So that's what's going on. Crazy. I mean, those numbers are really wow. And there's Fed talk today, Fed speak today. Okay? That's what's going on here, folks. Wow. All right. I think we're ready for some dailies, right? Now, if we go real back to the 1 hour, getting that big red bar, right? Where do we come down to? This is very key. So I use the anchored VWAP. Anchored VWAP right on this big move from CPI. Notice where we're at. Anchored VWAP from the CPI. That represents buyers from the CPI. Okay? There's not much to glean from this chart, so I'm not even going to analyze the hourly charts. Big red bar taking out all these buyers. And I'm going to look at this. This is the week-to-date VWAP right here, this green line. And we got that anchored VWAP from the CPI. You lose this CPI anchored VWAP, right? It lines up with this support right here around 64, 61. This structure here is not great. That's just a straight up move. You could take that out. And you can go right back to value and ultimate balance. Let's see if we do that. Okay. Let's go to the daily charts. Let's go to those daily. Let's look at those daily charts, folks. And we can go over some expected moves. This is SPX. Just real quick, SPX expected move 6504. You can see the green line right here. So if we zoomed in, push that down a little bit. 6504 is the expected move to the upside. Well, this news isn't helping that up to the upside, but so that's the expected move in the SPX. Now if we go over to the SPY, expected move is your 648.92s right there. Like I said, that doesn't really matter right now. All right, so you can see yesterday was like a doji candle, right? We came down into the previous day's highs, right? And look at the daily chart. I noticed, I pointed this out in my community. Look at that. Down day, up day, down day, up day, down day, up day, down day, up day, doji. What? I mean, literally down, up, down, just crazy. But higher. But what is the main trend? Up, right? Main trend's up. Where are we now? 642, 642, 60. We're gapping. Are we gapping? We're right at the lows of yesterday. We're right at the lows of yesterday. Let's look at futures. Futures, folks. Let's look at those futures. Look at that. There's yesterday's session. We just took it out, and then we're getting a wick. This is last month's highs. Last month's highs right there, that white bar. All right. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, let's go to Qs. Qs. What do we got for expected move? 587, 587.46. 587.46 right up there. What did we do yesterday? Again, look. Black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, black. Crazy, right? So, but the bottom line, high or low? Where are we now? 578. We're gapping down. We're gapping down in the Qs. Okay, relatively weak. right? Let's look at futures. Futures, you can see, taking out yesterday's overall session low. We're right at last month's highs. Last month's highs. There's last week's highs. Okay, let's see what we do. Is this the blow off top? I don't know. It's not a great thing. Now, to know something about futures, okay, is that most negative news when it comes out, this is unexpected, the market has to price it in. Now, is this a day of weakness, a couple days of weakness, a week of weakness? Well, if we get that, we could price it in, just like Trump's tariffs. We priced it in, we dropped. April 7th was it, and we ripped, right? Made all-time highs. Okay. Now, the yields and stuff actually have not done much. Dollars flat really hasn't done much. I'm still not going to cover it because it's not really doing anything. Okay. Now, let's get us to some expected moves. I'm going to bring up a chart here of the stocks I like to track. I just gave you a couple of them. So let's look at the expected move here. And let's go these in alphabetical order. I'm going to go to the daily. Okay, and we're just going to track the expected move. Maybe it's better in the 30-minute. You can see the expected moves. Okay, you can see the price action, that big green bar. This is Boeing. Boeing is, well, let's start with Apple. I'm going to go to a daily. I think it's just better to see it visually. 240 to the upside is the expected move. There's the close from Friday, the black. All right, so Apple is kind of in the middle. Let's look at AMD. AMD, you notice that? What did it do? Hit its expected move yesterday, and guess what? Pulled right back under it. Pulled right back under it. Okay. Amazon. Amazon's in the middle. That black line represents Friday's close. Okay. Broadcom. Broadcom went up. Look at that. Came right back down to Friday's close. Boeing, we just looked at. Look with the Berkshire Hathaway. It broke its expected move to the upside. Let's see if that can continue. Generally, it does not. Coinbase, look what it did. Hit its expected move and wicked. And wicked. Okay? I see this all the time. That's why I'm loving the expected move. GE. GE, look what it did. You see what it did? It went all the way down to its expected move. And what did it do? Rip up. The options market was pricing in a move only down to that area. The two 63.52s. I mean, you can't make this up. Again, go to my Discord. Join up. You'll get the indicator. Let's go to Google. Google's upside's not even in the picture, but we're going to make it in the picture. It's all the way up at 213. It's really in the middle. Okay, it's really in the middle. JP Morgan. In the middle. Eli Lilly. You see what that's going to do? Hit its expected move to the upside. It's been hitting its expected move to the downside of late. It's getting smoked. Okay. Meta. Meta's kind of pulled back, right? Microsoft. Kind of right at Friday's close in the middle. Netflix. Look what did it do? Yesterday and the day before, it hit its expected move. It hit its expected move. Nvidia. Basically hanging around Friday's close. Last Friday, okay? And Tesla. We'll end it here. Tesla is above Friday's close. The expected move to the upside for Tesla is 350, 354. So that's just how I like to look at markets. Whenever I notice a bunch of heavyweighted stocks hit their expected move, usually the cues give you a nice pullback. Now, yesterday it was AMD, Netflix, Coinbase, but Coinbase it's not heavy. It's not a heavy market cap weight, but it was showing me, okay, this is might be a little overdone. And then the market can move higher. I mean, but now we just got the PPI. We have a wick getting put in from PPI. You can see that here, right? Let's see how this bar resolves itself. That's why I'm like waiting to give more analysis. Okay, more analysis. Now, market internals yesterday. And I pointed out earlier, I'm just going to point out, it's real quick recap. Now, I don't know if Rosita's listening. She actually had nice puts on the market yesterday in SPY while the market was falling, which is awesome. Okay. However, I kept saying when the market was falling, I said, this market's not weak. It's got to prove itself to me. Now, the market's getting bought up right now. You can hear maybe those large orders. Okay. Now, the market came down here, and I was just like, never got weak. See down here in the internals? It's actually called the weighted AD. Never really. I mean, negative 87 is not weak. It was the tech pushing the market lower. Just a heavy weight. But the equal weight, which means if all these sectors were equal, was going higher. And all these numbers are bullish. Just had tech was your one stick in the side. And what did the market wind up doing? Pushing back up. Okay? Pushing back up. So that's your market internals recap. We're going to go straight in to my market profile, volume profile. All right, let's analyze this together. Just broke this demand zone. You can get rid of that now. Get rid of this demand zone. That doesn't mean anything anymore. All right. So let's get the trusty marker out. And let's look at the profile. The rolling week. We have two distributions. Distribution here and a distribution here. Sometimes you can make these two sessions, right? So this would be a balance session. This would be a balance session. Got double distribution, right? So now in the 24-hour session, look what the market did. It rose most traded price to 64.80. This is in the 24 hours, so most likely this might move today. I judge mine off real-time trading hours because that's where the important volume is put in. All right, so currently it's at 64, I think 14 or something like that. Ultimate balance down here. Okay, remember what I said. If the market can't move the most traded price up here, price will return back to value. Now, this is getting bought up now. I don't know what's going to happen. We're back inside yesterday's range now. Okay, you can see the single prints, which is represent emotional selling in this case. We're back inside yesterday's range. Now, yesterday had a poor structure to the downside, which is part of the reason I didn't short. I wanted to sweep these lows. My ultimate setup yesterday, because tech was weak, I wanted a sweep of these lows. It was poor structure. That's another reason why I didn't really want to go along, because generally when tech's weak and you have that poor structure, you generally make a tail. Then I was going to get long, right? So that was my little hesitancy as well. Now, this structure does not count that this is corrected in the overnights. It's got to happen in the real-time trading hours, okay? Now, how are we going to look at this? How are we going to look at this? Okay? So, actually, let me really quickly do something so I don't forget to do it. So, I'm going to bring us back to my hourly charts. And what I'm going to do, okay, I'm going to bring us back to the hourly charts. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set an anchored VWAP on this candle. Okay, so right on this candle, that would be called the scene of the crime, represent sellers in the PPI numbers. So there we go. It's not going to show up here yet, okay, because it's this candle didn't close yet. But once we'll get a new hour, I'll have an anchor VWAP from the scene of this crime, the PPI, and it represents sellers from this PPI numbers. We know this is the CPI VWAP, anchor VWAP from CPI, okay? That's why the market's being held here along with this support. All right, that's what the beauty about anchor VWAPs. It's transparent. It's not a moving average. It's based off volume and time. Okay? Now, and volume. So, all right. Now let's go back. I did that. Okay. We'll go back and analyze this. Okay. Analyze. We're going to look at some levels here. Now we know the 6460s right here was the level that I said had to get lost in the ES yesterday. It did not. Okay, it did not. So I'm going to put a little box here around the overnight lows and around this level, 6460s. Okay. Now we're gapping down now because the price went lower. So gap fill is 6466. 6466. This is it. I want to put that within this box as well. That's a horrible box, but you get it. We got single prints here. Okay. We got demand. We got supply right up here. That encompasses the most traded price of the overnights. Okay. So this is what comes into question this day. That's from CPI. Come from ultimate balance. Okay. So we want to see, can the market accept price down lower here? Anchor. This is the anchor view up for the week. Can we start to take out? Now this represents from the beginning of the week. You take those out because it's green. Buyers are in control when it's green. If you take that out, I think we go back to value. The ultimate balance, 6410s. Okay. Now there's a lot of overhead supply here. Do we work back through this with this weak number? I don't know. But we're going to have to find out. Okay? We're going to have to find out. So the 50% retracement of this day is 6439s right here. If I really wanted to get really, really technical, we can put it on the chart here. We could do a Fibonacci from the lows here to these highs. And the 50% Fibonacci is 64.55, which is right where it's interesting, right? This 50% Fibonacci is right here. That's 64.55. It already just retraced this move 50%. The 61.8s beautifully line up with the week to date anchored VWAP. That's your 64.44s. Now, usually when you take out the 64.44s or the 61.8 retracement, you usually retrace 100%. My apologies. My apologies. I don't know how long that was like that. I think because when I switch workspaces. So what I did here, thank you, documents. Thank you, thank you. What I did, let's get rid of some of these. Sorry about that. So let's get rid of some of these notes. Now, what I'm going to do is throw a Fibonacci from the low of this day to the highs, all-time highs. Okay? And I just want to mark off 64.55 is 50% retracement of this move. We just went there. Okay? Now the 61.8s, that's usually your last defense. That's 64.44s. Okay? That lines up with your week to date anchor VWAP. So that becomes your level. Right? That becomes your level. I think that could turn the tide. Whenever you lose 61.8s in Fibonacci, generally you go back and retrace 100% back to ultimate balance. Okay, so I'm going to be very cognizant of the week to day anchor VWAP 64.45s is around the same level. Okay. Not sure if I confused anybody. I hope I didn't. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to get rid of this Fibonacci. Okay, so let's talk about it. Let's really talk about this, okay? I'm gonna start off and give our let me open up this price action here. Sorry. All right, that's the price action. Oh man, it's 9 o'clock already, boy, because I started late. I started late. Um, let's go. I'm glad I did because the PPI numbers. Okay. Now, we know the 61/8 is right up with this anchor, week to day anchor view up. So what do I want to see? Okay. I'm going to go with the short side first. So let's throw up. Let's get into this. We're going to go with bear side. Okay. Got negative news. Gap fill 64.66. Right. We have that 64.60 in there. Okay. Let's just add this to the charts. I got to put it there. I just want to have. We're going to put a little box right there. That's your week to date anchored view up and your 61.8 retracement. Okay. We're gapping down. 64.6 is the gap fill. So if I want to look at shorts, right? If I want to look at shorts, what I want to see, maybe an initial pull down, break the overnight lows, all right? And get a nice retrace right back to the gap fill, 64.66, and fail. This is a high volume note here as well. If you fail there, retest that. This could get ugly. 64.45 is the week to date anchor VWAP. Hold on. Let me put the reds in there. All right. So again, sorry about that. Overnight lows tap, go back to the gap fill. Fail at the gap fill. Retest it. You could really start cooking. Take out the RTH. This would be the RTH lows, and you're going to test the 61.8s. That's 644. 6444, and it's also the week to date anchored VWAP. That represents buyers in control for the week. If you take this out, all right, it might not be easy, or it might be easy. You can go right back to ultimate balance, 64.10s. That would be a nice trade. Okay, we have negative news, so we're gapping down. Okay, now internals are gonna right my ship where I want to see. Now I think that's probably my best bet. Okay, I think that's the one thing I like. If we go back into range up in here, I'm probably not going to be too excited to go back to the most traded price of the week. Now, could it fall there as well? It could. Okay, this is only if the market is pushed up really quickly and the market's not strong and we fail, retest that, then maybe. Okay, moving on to longs. Long here, okay, it'll probably be the inverse. Okay, a couple things here. Okay, if we break down lower, take out the overnight lows, right? And let's say we hit that week to date anchor view up. We know it's a 61.8 retracement, Fibonacci. What if we do this, push up, hold, start get some higher lows, and rip back up and gap fill? That's a good trade in itself. But if you take out this high volume node, retest it, you can go back to yesterday's most traded price and the 24-hour most traded price of the week, 64.80s. Okay, that's a pretty nice trade. Now, do I think we get through all this price action? I don't know. The market would have to be very strong in order to do that. Okay, very strong. We could also open, come right into the gap fill, and bust through this, hold this, go right here as well. That's probably all I'm looking for. All right. And again, there's always new plans when the market opens. Okay, let's look at the NASDAQ. All right, we got some demand here that was taken out. We'll get rid of that. NASDAQ, right? NASDAQ was relatively weaker yesterday. And what did it do? Right? The 23930s about is your new most traded price. It's probably going to move there. And you got these two, let's look at the volume profile, right? The composite. We got a double distribution the same. High volume node, and then a pocket of volume. Okay? We're at the week to date anchored VWAP. We are at the anchored VWAP for the week. This represents buyers are in control for the week. If this turns red, That means that sellers have taken over the buyers. That's what's beautiful about the anchored VWAPs. Okay, it gives me a clear, very clear, oh, buyers are not in control anymore. Like, it's just literally what it is. It's not a moving average. It's not any pattern. That's what it is. Okay. So how are we gonna look at this? Look at this gap in Nasdaq. That's much deeper, right? And we're at the 50% retracement of this day already. That's where we kind of found buyers. Okay, this is last week's highs right here. The 23765s. Okay. Now let's throw a fib on here from this day up to that all-time highs around. Look what we did. Can't make this stuff up. There's the 61.8s to the tick. 23792s. To the tick, it retraced 61.8% of that move already. Okay, it's already defending it with the week-to-date anchored VWAP. And the day, this was the midpoint of this day as well. Okay, that's where we got to look. Like I said, if you find acceptance below the 61.8, you generally go back 100%. Okay, that's the last line of defense in Fibonacci. Okay. It's crazy how those fibs really show stuff, right? Now, for as levels, we already know we got a level to talk about right here. Anchored VWAP, 50% retracement of this day, 61.8 retracement, 61.8 retracement of Fibonacci in the week-to-date anchor VWAP, last week's highs. Okay, we got single prints. We're gapping down. What's the level we got to look at? 23886 gap fill, and I'd even incorporate the most traded price of the 24-hour session in it, your 239s. Or 23930s. Okay, that's your most traded price of yesterday. It's the most traded price of the 24 hours in the rolling week. This is defense for the bears. Okay, they broke all these key levels here. You do have supply up here. This is the real level. 23932s. Write it down. 23932s. That is your bull bear line in your Nasdaq. Now we know we have 237s, the most traded price of the RTH, and we have the demand down here with this big day's lows. Okay, let's get into it. And we are going to start with the bear. We know we're gapping down. Okay, this could be an all-out assault. I know it can gap and go. I don't trade gap and goes. Okay, so what I would like to see, if we do get a little bit of a gap and go, would be one of these. Drive lower, hit the 61.8s, or maybe last week's highs real quick, and then get a nice counter trend, right? Maybe even tap gap fill. Now, if the internals are like in parity, I want to see rejection, some lower highs to really cook. Take out this last week's highs and really go back to 237s. You take out the 237s, you're going back to the day of the CPI on Monday. Okay? Now, we do have a big defense up there also to talk about. So if we do wind up just coming in, filling the gap, coming into the range of yesterday, remember the 23932s and the most traded price of yesterday. If the market cannot find acceptance back inside that range and it rejects, retests, that's another short. Above that level, I'm not going to be short. Okay? Because the market would have to tell me, if we're there, that the market is probably not that weak. Okay? So I'm going to leave you with that there. Now, as far as the bull side, okay, What would I like to see? I don't like we're here, but it's a 61.8. So it could be a bear trap here if we take out these overnight lows, tap last week's highs, push up, maybe start to hold the week to date anchored VWAP to fill the gap. That could be a nice trade. Now, if you fill the gap and you go up to the 23932s, that would probably be my final target if I was long down here, because I know this is a wall. Okay, so if I had a runner and we popped up, retested it, held, possibly come up here, I don't know if that's in the cards. That market to do that would have to be decently strong after this negative news. All right, that's the only long I might think of if the internals are not that weak. Right, we're gapping lower, negative news. We just retraced 61.8%. Right, I would be leaning to a short, but I have to look at the internals. Okay, to see what they're telling me. That's it, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, smash that like button for me. That'd mean a lot to me. Okay. Got a plan. I like it. I like the plans. And as always, please join me every morning. Subscribe. Set that alert. Join me every morning. Let me be a cup of coffee, tea, water, whatever you choose to drink. I give you that market story, right? The market news, the economic calendar, leaders and laggards, and a bunch of technical analysis. All right. I just gave you the long and short trade scenarios in the ES and the NASDAQ. Hopefully that made sense. I don't see many questions, so I guess that makes sense. So, remember, structure is king. Okay, structure is king. Price action is just an advertising mechanism. Okay, price action, again, can fool everyone. Price structure is king. That's why I look at the most traded prices, the VPOCs, all that stuff, because that's human behavior. That's large levels. Okay, that's important levels. All right, I don't care what something did on a 3-minute chart. You got to lean on structure. Now, when I mean that, doesn't mean you can't scalp. It doesn't mean you can't trade your own trades. It just means that my trades are going to be based around structure most of the time to be on the right side. Okay, that's all. That's all that is. And I'm a man, so what I would like to say sometimes is price action can be a seductress. It can fool you. Okay? It can fool you. I'm like, wait a minute, what is Jessica Rabbit doing here? Right? Jessica Rabbit, when you're a kid, and if anybody saw Frame Roger Rabbit, I forget how old I was, but I remember whatever that was, I was just like, I like Jessica Rabbit. That's price action. Right? I'm like, man, I don't even know what I'm looking. As a kid, I was like, I don't even know what I'm looking at, but I know those curves, and that's price action, right? Makes you believe certain things, right? Especially if you're at a VPOC. Boy, is that a if you're at a VPOC, boy, man, Jessica Ra- Jessica Rabbit is dancing all over the place on a VPOC, playing games. Okay, so that being said, maybe from a girl's point of view, it could be Brad Pitt, could be somebody else, but um, that's what price action is. Okay. Over the years, I've been calmed down by price action. Internals matter to me, the overall picture. But like I said, I'm not telling anybody to trade. I know my boy Documents is a scalper. A lot of this stuff, most of it like that ain't gonna matter for a couple of points or something. It's not really gonna matter. But more my trading is that style. Okay, more my trading. So again, all right, if you guys want to get that indicator, the weekly expected move, join my Discord, Confluence Trading. Go to the YouTube homepage, click on the link, sign up. You will get me live commentary. You will get me. I'm not sure if Documents will be live with me today, but if you want to come in, let me be your indicator. Let me show you what I'm seeing in the markets. I'm never going to drive you wrong, steer you wrong. Okay? So sign up, join the community. I know I'm getting a couple people every day. Hopefully you get something out of this, okay? I'm not there to teach you how to trade. I'm there to show you how the market works. Okay? Everybody, have a great day. Okay? Now, hopefully I see you in Discord. If I don't, I'll see you tomorrow. All right, now we have some nice news event. Volumes probably popped up. So let's see how the day goes. Everybody have a great day. Hope everybody stays green. Remember, no trade's a trade. All right, everybody, take it easy.